Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, joined by Alex and Matt. And this is Development Hell Podcast. And we're going to be talking about some of our favorite childhood films. So be prepared to talk about some weird movies, probably,
That's
things that
right.
you probably haven't watched in a long time. Now, we're going to be getting started with some of our new releases. Are we going to greenlight them? Send them to Development Hell? Or are we going to just push them off to the side of the desk and maybe think about them later? So, and then we'll be talking about our childhood films, and then maybe if we have some time at the end, talk about some of the things we might be watching. So, getting started, I'm going to just focus on more wide releases. So, we got Honest Thief, which actually I'm going to be going to see tonight at the Navy Yard drive-in in Philly. So this is another Liam Neeson's action movie. He's a famous thief and he's trying to go straight. And of course, that doesn't go as planned. So we got another Liam Neeson action movie. Apparently, Jai Courtney is the villain. And let's see, Alex, are you going to greenlight another Liam Neeson action movie? Or are you going to send it to development hell?
Man, I think Liam Neeson's such a great actor, and he has such a great presence. I mean, he is a movie star. Just based on that alone, without hearing what you said about the plot, without hearing any sort of cat or any sort of bigger thing. Like I remember he did a movie called The Gray a while back,
I
which
love
was
the gray.
that was different for him, but he still gets to be this very intense character who's kind of unstoppable in his own way. But this sounds a little more run of the mill. So knowing just that, I'm going to have to send it back to development hell to give it something a little extra.
Alrighty. How about you, Matt?
Has he hit 70 yet?
That's a good question. He was born in 1952. So
Send it to hell. No, I'm kidding.
he has 2 more years, Matt.
2 more years? Okay. All right. I mean, it's interesting. Like, I don't think I don't even remember the last movie that I saw of his that I've seen in theaters. Or if I did, maybe I was like dragged to see it. I don't know, but it doesn't really sound like it's for me. I don't know. Wait, what? Yeah, what are some of his last movies?
Well, he was in
Isn't that
Ordinary.
Plane?
He was in Ordinary Love this year, which was an actual drama with him and Leslie Manville. Great film. But some of his other recent action movies, he's had
Was it
obviously
nonstop?
he had Nonstop, he did 3 Taken movies, he had The Gray, which was more of a survival film and less the action movie that people thought it was him punching wolves. Um, Walk Among the Tombstones. Uh, yeah, I
Was that
feel
good or
like
bad?
it's Walk Among the Tombstones was all right. I feel like most of them are pretty run of the mill kinds of films, except for the first Taken and The Gray. I feel like most of them are kind of down the middle, unless you have Taken 3, which was trash. Um, but I would pass on this. I'm going to see it because I could actually go see it at a theater, and well, it's a drive-in, so I'm going to be seeing it. So be interested to see how it turns out. But review
Down in
your
Sewell, New Jersey. Is that where it's at?
huh?
Sewell, New Jersey. Is that the name of the town that the drive-in's in?
Well, so the one that I usually go to is Delsey,
Else. Okay.
but in Vineland. But this is at the Navy. Yep, this is at the Navy Yard in Philly.
Oh,
So because
oh,
it's the Philly Film Society is doing it because their theater's not open. But Philly Film Festival is being shown through drive-ins and virtual cinema starting next Friday. So
dude.
check out their website. They have all kinds of movies that you can stream. I already took a look through. So I'm probably going to be checking some of them out.
Really? Okay. I'll check that out. Yeah. I got some family that really wants to get back to the movie somehow. So cool.
So I think we're all sending Honest Thief back to development hell. Now we got Love and Monsters, which surprisingly, this is not based off of anything. It really looks like it was based off of like a comic book or video game or something. But Love and Monsters is starring Dylan O'Brien, probably most famous for being in the Maze Runner movies. And we tried to destroy a comet coming to Earth. And the radiation from the missiles turned all of the creatures on Earth into giant monsters. So now we all live underground. And he's trying to reconnect with the love of his life from high school and travels across the country to go find her and encounters giant monsters, Michael Rooker, and very similar kind of ideas to Zombieland, except that instead of rules to survive zombies, you got rules to survive giant monsters. So are you going to be giving a green light or sending it to development hell for Love and Monsters? Go ahead, Alex.
You had me until the reconnecting with the love from high school.
Well,
because
the thing is, half the title is love.
Right. I think my problem with that is that could come off really gooey and it might not work for me. I think in Zombieland there is something kind of just natural and kind of spontaneous about what happens between Emma Stone and Eisenberg. But that sounds like that could be a little bit forced. But I like the premise. So I'm not gonna send it back. That could be a lot of fun. That'd be a good date. It'd be a good date movie for Halloween, that's for sure.
How about you, Matt?
Yeah, it sounds good. I guess the moment that when I heard the love thing, it just made me think, which actually kind of ties into like one of my childhood movies. I don't really think too much about high school, and it's not like the theories are even that old. Like I don't know why movies just like make everyone believe that everybody else is just like fixated and trapped in like 4 year like a period of time. I don't know. I just don't really think too much about it. I don't know. Never mind. But yeah, no, yeah, give it a green light, but
yeah,
maybe don't base your life around it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%, Matt. Thank you. Every time I think about that girl from high school, I gotta smack myself. She's probably
it's like, whoa, okay.
She's probably got 4 kids in the suburbs already. It's I gotta look at greener pastures.
So I got a chance to go. I got to watch this last night, and it was a lot of fun. And like Dylan O'Brien's a lot of fun. He's a charismatic lead. He's funny. He's endearing, and honestly, they have like flashbacks and it's like a cute love story. But most of the film they do spend on the monsters and like him trying to avoid monsters. And there's some really cool creatures. And honestly, Michael Matthews, who directed it, really has a decent handle on shooting action. And there's some cool action sequences in it with some of the creatures. And honestly, it had some of its flaws and cliches. And honestly, the second Michael Rooker showed up, it's just like, could they not get Woody Harrelson for this? Because it felt right out of Zombieland. But like, it was a lot of fun, honestly. And if you just want to have a bunch of fun, this is definitely a lot of fun. And honestly, it has some good emotional moments, more about him growing and less about like everything needs to be about him reconnecting with this girl. So honestly, it was a lot of fun. Now, here's probably the biggest one is The Trial of the Chicago 7. And this is the new drama that came out on Netflix, written and directed by Aaron Sorkin. And this was originally supposed to be filmed back in 2007 with Spielberg directing Sorkin's script. But now Sorkin can direct things now. So he directs his own script. And it's about the 7 men plus one other who get put on trial for inciting violence and protest at the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago. and it's starring Eddie Redmayne, Sacha Baron Cohen, who plays Abby Hoffman, and Jeremy Strong from the show Succession, Mark Rylance, Frank Langella's the judge in it. Michael Keaton has a small but really impactful role in it, and it's a pretty big cast. And John Carroll Lynch is in it. I want to double check his name. It was the actor who played Black Manta in Aquaman. Because I want to say his name right.
Oh, he's the new Candyman. Martine.
He Abdul Mateen the second, and he plays the leader of the Black Panther Party, who gets put on trial as well. So, all-star cast. Aaron Sorkin, are you going to greenlight this or send this to development hell?
Greenlight, easy. That one's easy.
Yep, a lot going for it.
Yeah.
So I think across the board, like I was really excited for it. I watched it last night, and boy, does it play like a Sorkin movie.
Yeah.
Dialogue. And they make it really exciting, and acting's amazing. And honestly, Sacha Baron Cohen is one of the best parts of the movie, and he really plays that over-the-top character that Abby Hoffman was, but he is very poignant at points and very bright. And it's interesting because I didn't realize this until I watched a review of it. This was supposed to be made in 2007, and Sacha Baron Cohen's been attached to this the whole time.
Oh, really?
Which is why he's 49 years old.
So he's a producer?
33-year-old.
On it. Must have been a producer on it, right? Yeah.
I guess so, but like he was supposed to play Abby Hoffman at like 20. He was 36 when this movie was originally supposed to be filmed, but he's 49 now. So it's a little weird. He looked considerably older than he was supposed to be, but I guess that's the explanation. But I would definitely go check it out. Okay, so now these are the films starting next week, so I haven't seen any of these yet. But we got the new adaptation of Rebecca, starring Armie Hammer, coming out on Netflix. This is a remake of the classic Hitchcock film, also starring Lily James. This is directed by Ben Wheatley, who directed Free Fire, High Rise, and it's based off of a classic novel. A young newlywed arrives at her husband's imposing family estate on a wide-swept English coast and finds herself battling the shadows of his first wife, Rebecca. So, like, this is a classic tale. They're remaking it. Alex, are you going to like this?
Wow, that sounds really interesting. What was the name of? Is the name of the original Hitchcock the same as?
It's both called Rebecca.
Rebecca. Sounds really cool, actually. Yeah, no, I'm not. I'll green like that.
How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I heard about this. Before. This sounds really interesting. I have like a 4-disc collection of Hitchcock's movies coming, like in Wednesday. I don't know.
Nice. You gotta watch that one first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like it's interesting. Like I think the thing that this movie probably has going against it is, even though probably only maybe like 30 people even remember it, but the Psycho remake, and it's kind of like hopefully like that too. This is better. But I don't know. Like this like the trailer looked cool. Armie Hammer is cool. So yeah, and Netflix is usually cool. Sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's garbage.
Psycho was so iconic, and I never heard of this one. This one, correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably not nearly as famous as Psycho, and so Psycho had a lot to live up to, and they certainly did.
And they literally just shot for shot made the same exact movie.
Yeah, and it didn't. It just felt weird. Yeah.
Also, Vince Vaughn isn't scary. Well, I mean, he is scary, but not in like the way he wanted to be.
He's played some more intense roles lately, like especially the films that he's been doing with S. Craig Zahler. But like 1990, I mean like 90s Vince Vaughn playing Norman Bates didn't really work. But yeah, I'm definitely down for Rebecca. it definitely seems like there's a lot of talent involved. So at least that has my attention.
Yeah.
Obviously, like most of the films I've seen of Ben Wheatley's, I felt were underwhelming. Like I wasn't a huge fan of Free Fire or High Rise, so I'm like they had a lot going for them, but then there was a lot of flaws that kind of like negated it. So I'm interested to see what he does with this adaptation. Now, this is an interesting one. So coming to HBO Max is The Witches. So adaptation of Roald Dahl's novel, and Anne Hathaway is starring as the Grand High Witch. Chris Rock is narrating, also has Octavia Spencer and Stanley Tucci in it, and written, directed by Robert Zemeckis. And this was supposed to be a big movie coming to the theaters, but HBO Max went out and bought it. So it's coming a week or so before Halloween. So are we checking out The Witches on HBO Max, Alex?
I laughed. I laughed because of and I'm thinking of ending things. They have they kind of poke fun at Robert Zemeckis, and when she has these like little, movie moments in her head, directed by Robert Zemeckis, I love Anne Hathaway. I don't know why. I don't know. It's something about her. She's, I don't know. I guess I get starry-eyed when I think about Anne Hathaway.
She's real creepy in this.
Yeah. Oh, good.
That's even better.
That's not a good thing. I don't know why I said that. But I don't know, man. My gut reaction is to send this one back. That's my gut reaction.
What about you, Matt?
The trailer makes me cringe. Send it back. Also, if you want to see something interesting, type in Anne Hathaway witches scary mouth, or maybe on Google Images or something like that.
I looked at the picture.
Yeah, there's a picture. Alex, you should Google the picture while we're talking. It's Anne Hathaway's like scary. I don't even want to spoil it. It just looks weird. But I don't know if that picture isn't weird enough for me to watch the movie. So
like,
yeah.
I'm gonna be watching, like, I watch basically anything, but like I'm not excited to watch this because I'm very weary of Alex's reaction. I'm very weary of Roald Dahl adaptations because he had such a specific voice in his writing, and it's really hard to capture that. And obviously there's been pretty bad adaptations of his films, and he mostly hated the adaptations of his films. Like, I think his best adaptation was Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I absolutely love that movie. But like, I'm not like, if I see Robert Zemeckis' name on something, that doesn't automatically give it a green, like a big up for me, especially after what the hell was his last film with Steve Carell in it? Where he had like PTSD and basically he had like all these like
the Women of Marwen.
Yeah, Welcome to Marwen. Yeah, that was a hot mess. So I'm a soft send to development hell, but like I'll keep you posted once I watch it.
That Witches movie is a remake of.
Yeah, Angelica Houston was the original Grand High Witch. Yeah,
I remember that movie. That was a kind of a cool movie, but not.
What do you think of the picture?
That scared the shit out of me. It's funny because then they show all these regular pictures of her making funny faces next to that.
So, and then our last one is Borat. So the second Borat is coming out on Amazon.
It's like 10 years too late, man. It's like 10 years too late.
I want to watch it even just specifically for when he dresses up as President Trump and runs into that Pence speech, because I want to see what happens. Because I remember that happening, and hearing Sacha Baron Cohen gets like thrown out of a Mike Pence speech earlier this year. That was it. They were filming Borat secretly, and like I'm very interested to see what they do in this political climate with things. But yes, like
Yeah.
they should have made a sequel to Borat if they were going to make one like years ago. But after this movie comes out, everybody's going to be like, very nice, and all kinds of quoting from Borat again. So I see Alex as a definite send it back to development hell based off of that reaction.
Yeah.
How about you, Matt?
No, I'm gonna watch it. All right, so I saw the first one. So I own the first one. I was like, let's just watch it again. So I saw it last weekend, and it's a really funny movie. Like maybe, hopefully, like you guys haven't seen it recently, so like there's enough time that has passed, because if for the last like 10 or whatever years everyone's been saying like sexy time, like it would be like annoying, but it's not annoying because no one
King of the
cool
Castle.
talks like that. So like watching the movie again, I was like, that's really funny. Oh, that's offensive. Oh, that definitely can't be done in 2020. But
It's
again,
true.
maybe it might be. And then Aaron Cohen, he made a show last year called I think like Welcome to America or This is America or something, where he was basically like dressing up as like he had like I think it was like 5 different characters, and he would put himself talking to celebrities or different political people or in random situations with just the public, and just acting up and then having them react in a really weird way to get their actual impression on things. And they'd be like outing themselves as having like some crazy opinion, but it's just like it's real. So it's interesting. It's funny. Yeah, I mean, I'll watch it. I'll watch it. And maybe it might not be crap.
I'm sure it'll be like funny. I'm sure it'll be entertaining. I don't doubt that. But I think it's just, I know I'm not gonna go out of my way to see it because it has been a long time, and I don't know. I feel like the joke is up for me. I guess.
You should look at how many times that the original movie was like sued. That's actually pretty interesting.
Really?
Like apparently it was sued like many times.
He did all those things to actual people. So like, I'm shocked that he was even able to make this movie, because like who doesn't know at this point about Borat? So like, I don't know. But so those are the films coming out over the next 2 weeks. So now we're going to be shifting gears into talking about some of our childhood films. So Alex, what film did you pick to talk about?
Well, thank you for this topic, both of you. I think this is a great topic, and I hope that people share in the comments, what their favorite childhood films were, because it's always kind of cool to see. They're not always necessarily the greatest movies, and the one that stood out for me that I picked immediately when you guys came up with this topic was The Wizard with Fred Savage. Have you guys seen this one?
I have not.
Okay. What about you, Matt?
No, I never heard of it.
Okay, so no, that's okay. A lot of people probably haven't. So this film, I'll set it up for good, for bad. The film was pretty much made as a way to promote the release of Super Mario Brothers 3 on the NES. This is going back like 1988, 89. It's got Fred Savage from the Wonder Years in it, because he was like one of the biggest child actors at that time. It's got Christian Slater in it. I think he plays
Christian Slater.
Yeah, Christian Slater. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Christian Slater. It's got Beau Bridges, not Jeff Bridges, but his brother Beau Bridges.
Who sounds just like him.
Yeah. yeah, mostly. Yeah, you're right, actually. And I can't think of any of the other like actors, and I don't think it has any other bigger named actors in it. But it really is basically like Rain Man for kids. So if you've ever seen Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I just thought it's so wild. Okay.
But instead of doing math, imagine, if Dustin Hoffman was a little kid who was like a savant at arcade games, and so they drive across America to California, Universal Studios, to enter this video game competition. And so that's the whole game. They're just like hitchhiking across America, trying to get to California, and they basically bet money with people in arcades so they can pay money for gas and pay money for food all the way across. Meanwhile, their parents their parents are trying to find them, the entire time. And so it's actually kind of if you like video games and you're a nerd about Nintendo games in that era, you'll love it. They actually used to have those video game tournaments. I think they still do, actually.
Yeah, so I was watching a documentary series on Netflix called High Scores, and they were talking about some of like the original big like nationwide video game competitions. And it's like they had those arcade things, and like what some of the big ones, like when Mortal Kombat came out, everyone's like, Mortal Kombat, and they're like, we're not kids, and like we want to rip each other to pieces and stuff like that. But like I grew up, I'm a Nintendo kid, so I had my N64, I had my GameCube, still have my GameCube, it's sitting right over there, and played Pokemon my whole entire life, still play Pokemon, have a Switch and everything. So like I love Nintendo. So I would definitely give it a watch at least. It definitely sounds like it's fun.
It is fun. It's a fun movie. It's got some cheesy, hokey parts to it. Don't get me wrong. It definitely does. There's an actress in there. I didn't look up her name, but the girl who plays like the love interest of Fred Savage, she's really good. She's a really good. I think she does a pretty good job of acting in the movie, but I don't think we ever saw her again, unfortunately. She was really good. And I won't spoil the ending, but there's a very heartfelt thing that happens toward the end that has always had a really big effect on me. And so yeah, definitely, if you like video games, especially old video games, definitely give this one a shot.
Awesome. Sounds very 80s.
It is very 80s. Yeah, I like this movie so much. My last band, 60 Miles East, somehow or another, I won't go into it, but the name got taken because of a location in California where one of the scenes takes place in this movie. So that's, so obvious. So yeah, it has a pretty special place in my heart, despite some of the 80s cheesiness.
That 80s cheese.
Yeah.
What's the name of it again? You said The Wizard?
The Wizard.
The Wizard?
The Wizard, yes.
Okay.
Like the ones on your poster behind you.
Well, YouTube.
You're a wizard, Harry. So Matt, what's yours?
Okay. So mine is Superbad. So that movie about high school students getting ready to go to college and basically kind of like re-examine their relationships with each other and their status like within inside of their high school, like that, all that stuff that, that it's kind of very easy to kind of like shrug or like kind of like to make that sort of like meh noise when you're an adult. But when you are a high school student, watching high school students go through the same thing that you're going through, because you can like, it's not like it's very hard to like zoom out of your own experience and say like, oh, okay, and then I go back in. Like that was like a very like interesting movie. And when you watch that movie, if you just like watch the trailer, you definitely get a sense of what that movie is about. But then what I like in the movie is that it actually really does have heart. And don't get me wrong, this movie is funny. It is crude. It is a little bit violent.
McLovin.
It has so many quotes. It is such an awesome movie. It's like disgusting and like irrelevant and kind of like, I don't want to say surreal, but it's like a weird movie. But
It
it's
makes
also
you
real
want to drive around blasting Panama by Van Halen.
with a cop, with two cops, with the two worst cops. But like, I don't know. There's something about that movie, like Michael Cera and Jonah Hill, and it's like everybody that was attached to that movie. And I was already a fan of Michael Cera because because what was that show? Arrested Development came out before that movie came out, and I really liked Arrested Development. And then I forget what came out first, Juno or Superbad. I feel like Superbad came out first. I think, I don't know. But yeah, can you fact check that? I feel like Juno came out 07?
They both came out in 2007.
Both of them.
Yeah. So
okay, awesome. Okay, yeah. So I don't know. I just connected with that movie a lot, and it's just like a really fun, funny, and also like an interesting movie because the not unspoken, but it's like only kind of like sprinkled out throughout the movie until you get to the actual end, is that like this good time, this feel good moment, like it is going to end. Like we are all about to graduate. We are all about to do something different. This is all going to change. We're trying to like kind of like cling on to it, but like we all know like it's gonna end. And that came out again when I was in high school. So I was thinking like, damn, yeah, like that's actually true. So I don't know. It's a really good movie. Emma Stone is in it, and you're gonna be like, what? Why is her hair that color? Yeah, it's just a really, it's a really awesome movie.
I had to double check what year it came out because I'm like, it did come out when we were in high school, man.
Yeah, I remember. So that movie was so raunchy, right? I definitely could not watch it yet because I wasn't 17 yet, I don't think. So I remember.
No, we weren't.
Yeah, I definitely was not. So like I remember watching it on TV because I ordered it. I don't know, and I was watching it late at night because my little brothers were asleep, but I had the volume down to maybe like 15, and I was just like this close up to the TV, just listening to it, like putting my hand over my mouth. Just I thought it was like the funniest thing ever. Yeah, that was so great. And now I have my own apartment, and I can watch anything. I can watch Pulp Fiction with the volume at 50, and I do frequently. But but no, guys, that movie is so good. Like you guys should both watch it again, but like think about it not so much in terms of like, wow, all these jokes are really shocking and crazy, but think about it in terms of like the friendship and how like the whole like one of the points of the movie is that friendship, at least when you're a kid, is temporary. Like it's a really good watch. It's a really good watch. It's on Hulu and it's on online somewhere, but I guess we can't promote that stuff.
So I could watch it whenever I want.
That was a great movie. Yeah, no, I'm not sure if I buy Emma Stone, and Jonah Hill at that point in his career to the end there. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't buy her. Being like, okay, yeah, I like this guy. No, it's just that's it.
Just imagine it's supposed to be young Seth Rogen. Like him and Evan Goldberg wrote it about them in high school. So like Michael Cera's supposed to be Evan Goldberg and Jonah Hill's supposed to be Seth Rogen.
That's cool. That's so cool. I didn't know that. But I know that movie blew more for because did Judd Apatow direct that Superbad, or did he just produce
Evan Goldberg? Wait, I'm double checking Superbad.
Definitely wrote it. I know it was like I think 2 or 3 people wrote it. Like some of them wrote it too.
Matolo directed it. Who directed Adventureland? He directs the show Dave. Wow. But Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg wrote it because, like, apparently they wrote that in high school. like the two of them about their experiences in high school. So I know it's very personal to them, which is really cool. And then, of course, Seth Rogen wrote himself to get with a black girl from high school.
Sure.
So, but it's very interesting because it's like, Alex, obviously you picked one that was like you watched it as a kid kind of thing. And like Matt, you picked one that was more like high school years kind of thing. Cause like I know I was definitely thinking about like as a kid, and I was thinking of movies like Page Master with like Macaulay Culkin that I used to watch as a kid, or The Troll in Central Park and stuff like that. And could have easily just talked about Shrek on here because
Hey, man, I watched Die Hard with a Vengeance when I was like 9, so it's
the funny thing was my VHS collection, half of it was either Disney and Pixar movies and James Bond movies. So like I watched James Bond movies since I was like 9 years old. So
with the volume on 10 or full?
No, I watched it with my mom. My grandfather
People getting shot like
my grandfather made me watch The Godfather when I was 10 years old because it was my culture. So like that kind of sets the tone that I grew up with. So but like what I picked was I always had a love for like those old Disney musical movies. So like obviously like Mary Poppins, but the one that I want to talk about is Bedknobs and Broomsticks. And I grew up watching this a lot, still have it, still love watching it. It's from director Robert Stevenson, who also directed Mary Poppins. So it has the same kind of vibe and everything. Just take out Julie Andrews, who was like my first celebrity crush. Julie Andrews. And sub her in with Angela Lansbury. So it's Angela Lansbury.
My first celebrity crush.
Yeah. So Angela Lansbury, long before I knew Angela Lansbury used to be famous for playing like Mrs. Lovitz from Sweeney Todd. So like she had a long career of being in musicals. So like she plays a witch who during World War II in a small town in England decides to take in 3 orphan kids from London. And she doesn't like kids. She has them because they kind of get forced upon her. But she's a practicing witch, and she's in a program where in the mail she gets a new spell each month or something like that. And then the school closes, and she wants to find out what happens. So they take the bed, turn it into a flying bed that could fly anywhere they want. They fly to England to try to find Mr. Brown, Dr. Brown, who is the head of this magical school, played by David Tomlinson, who is Mr. Banks in Mary Poppins. So like he had a long career of musicals as well. And it has a mix of live action musical. It has a point where they go to a magical animated world where animals rule an island. So it's like that famous thing of like putting live action people over like animation. And there's a lot of great musical numbers that I still listen to and probably know all the words to, like Eglantine and Beautiful Briny Sea and Portobello Road. There's just so many great musical numbers, and the climax of the film is the Nazis invade England and they fight off the Nazis with reanimated soldier armor from all times in like the history of England. So it's a bunch of Nazis getting the crap kicked out of them by a bunch of magical like suits of armor and stuff like that. It's crazy. It's based off.
Did they get scalped like in Glorious Bastards or no?
No, but there was a terrifying moment because one of the suits of armor that gets reanimated is an executioner's costume. And this executioner must have been like almost 7 feet tall, has a giant axe, and is just like straight up murking all these Nazis. Like the thing is, nobody dies. They just get like chased off by like these suits of armor and stuff like that. But like it's a fun time and it has great musical numbers. It's really charming. Angela Lansbury and David Tomlinson are great actors and great in musicals. So it's like if you enjoyed like Mary Poppins and stuff like that, it has the same kind of vibe to it. And I always grew up watching stuff like that, and I still love musicals. Matt went to two musicals with me. We went to go see Bronx Tale when Robert De Niro turned it into a musical on Broadway, and we saw School of Rock on Broadway too. So
I feel sure.
honestly, that's probably one of the things that like people would least expect from me as like a film fan is that I love musicals, and I still love watching musicals. And Bedknobs and Broomsticks is like one of those classic kids kind of musicals growing up. It's from 1971, so like it was a lot of things. Like I would watch a lot of movies with my mom who used to watch these things when she was growing up. So it's definitely more of like her childhood time. Obviously, I wasn't a child in 1971.
Yeah.
So did not exist. Actually, it wouldn't exist for 20 more years. But I just love movies like that. See, Matt thinks I'm funny. Thanks, Matt.
I keep forgetting to mute myself. I don't know why I don't do that.
But yeah, it's definitely something that grew on me as a kid, and I still watch it now.
That's great. I mean, there's definitely something nostalgic about those films for us when we're growing up, you know, regardless of when they come out, you know, whatever it means for us. I mean, I was just thinking, I hesitated in saying it because my mom walked over there. But one of the reasons why The Wizard is so important to me is because I didn't watch that with my mom a lot. But I love my parents more than anybody else in the world. And something happens in that movie that always, like, waterworks. Like, it just freaking, you know. And so that's why, you know, that movie, it's one of those things, like someone else might watch it. What's the big deal? But it means something to you. You know, it means something very, very special to you. So yeah.
I picked Superbad for the same thing because I remember watching it and like because so when you're still in a situation, so high school, like when you're still in high school, but then like you're watching a movie not about like what happens after high school or before, but like so the characters are going through something that you're about to be going through soon, and it's not a good thing. Like it's like scary sad. And I remember like watching it and thinking like oh crap, like I need to make sure like I don't let that happen. And you know, and so it's like anyone that's watching this video like that has graduated high school, you know, like eventually like sometimes that does happen, and that's okay. But like it's lasted in my mind as kind of like it's almost kind of like a heads up almost. If that makes any sense, you know what I mean? And kind of like, hey, like this is gonna happen, like get ready. So like I totally get what you mean. Like it spoke to you for like a very personal reason. I like that. Shane, what's the name of your movie again?
Bedknobs and Broomsticks. So like I didn't pick my like it was never like a connection where it's just like I felt emotionally attached to this movie, but like it's something that I always just love to watch, and it puts a smile on my face every second of it. And like I really understand, it's interesting watching those high school movies like Superbad and Booksmart that came out recently. And like I never spent a whole lot of time with friends before I got to college, and like mostly spent time at home with my family or doing work, and spent most of my high school in school or doing schoolwork outside of school. And that was really me. Or I'd be sitting by myself playing video games or reading books or watching movies. And it wasn't until college where I really like made connections with people. Like Matt and I met like second week of college and known each other for 10 years now.
You're old. No, I'm kidding.
I'm almost exactly a year older than Matt, which is the funny thing.
He loves saying that.
But
because when you're a kid, That gives you cred. That makes you. I guess that makes you a better person when you're a kid.
Yeah, but I'm taller than him though. I'm much taller than him actually. He's like 5'6". I'm like 6'2". So.
No, I'm 6'1" without my hair, and then like 6'3" with it. So.
Oh crap.
And in your wine glass. It's just.
I just always like I would watch movies like Superbad and wish that I had like I've never really had like that buddy that I spent day in day out with, and like I've never been that like I see my friends, we catch up every so often. It's like I've never had that experience where I had like a friend that I spent every single day with. Obviously in college you live with people, and that's a little bit different when you're living in dorms with each other, but it's like it was always a cool thing to me. And I kind of always wish that I had like that pal day in, day out in high school. But like, it's cool watching those kinds of things and admiring that kind of friendship. And it was interesting because I was interviewing my brother for Lost in the Wasteland show that I'm doing now, where I'm interviewing people, which both Alex and Matt will be joining at some point in the near future. But my brother talked so much, like his favorite filmmaker is John Hughes. And my brother like his favorite movie is Breakfast Club.
Wow.
And like watching those like 80s high school movies, it's very interesting looking at that dynamic. And I also hated high school. So like I never really looked back and have like that fondness for high school. Like I loved college. College was when I became like really who I was. I found myself. And I think those are the friendships that really grow strong because it's not a matter of convenience. Because like growing up, it's like you become friends with kids on your street or friends of your parents, the kids of your parents' friends and stuff like that. And those kinds of things get brought up in these kinds of movies. And like when you're older and you make those connections, it's really out of like your interest and you build those strong connections. And that's a tough thing to realize is like sometimes you drift away from those friends that you had when you're younger. Because like I remember the movie Good Boys that came out within the past couple of years about middle school. And that was a big theme in that film about are they just friends out of convenience? Or do they really have a lasting friendship? And all the crazy antics tests that. Yeah. And I was also like I never had like a super bad night. And it's funny because like you watch Superbad and it's like I'm watching high schoolers. And then you watch like high school movies like Dazed and Confused and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm watching a bunch of 30-year-olds play high schoolers. Or like American Pie. I watched those movies way too young. But like they were literally in their 30s and playing these high schoolers. And it's interesting, like all those different kinds of dynamics you see in those kinds of films. And it's interesting because it's like you have those films like Matt brought up that have those really relatable connections as a kid because it's like you're going through those things. And then you have the fantastical ones. Like I just rewatched Neverending Story. That's another thing that I watched so much as a kid. And watching it now is like, this movie's depressing. Like the whole entire movie. And like you watch those fantasy things that you get lost in as a child because you just love that magical nature about those kinds of things. And I still love fantasy and sci-fi and stuff like that. So I still appreciate a lot of those things I watched as a kid. Also watched a lot of Adam Sandler as a kid, growing up in the 90s. And it's like, I love 90s Sandler. I could quote all those movies. What are you looking at, Schwan? And like I could quote Billy Madison from start to finish probably. But like now it's like I can't stand watching his new movies.
Right.
Well, I'll go watch Hubie Halloween.
I saw it. Did you see it?
Yeah.
It's terrible. Yeah, no. I got kind of pulled into watching it. Just for something fun to do, Halloween focused. Yeah, it was pretty bad. There were some moments where I laughed. You know, it felt like just like a very less than mediocre Family Guy episode. You know, with Adam Sandler. That's kind of how I felt about it. But go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to use that as a transition to springboard into talking about what we've been watching lately. But if you want to add another point to what we were talking about already.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it's kind of like in so many different art forms. Adam Sandler, even though he's never directed, I don't think, he is in his own way a filmmaker. And every filmmaker gets out of touch, but he seems to be in touch with some portion of the audience because he keeps, being funded and he's able to make films.
Make a lot of money. And that is why Netflix gave him that giant contract. Because his movies were cheap. Basically, it was just him and his friends going on vacation most of the time. So it was just that. And they were cheap. And then they made a ton of money. Look at Grown Ups. My God.
Because that, to me, it's throwaway cinema. You watch it, you throw it away. It doesn't have that lasting, So if he gets that, you're going to give that to other people who are just going to throw stuff that can just be, basically watched for 15, 30 to 30 minutes and then thrown away.
And that's the thing especially with Adam Sandler now, is just like, he gets to hang out with his friends, make a ton of money, and then every 10 years really make a great movie and really act and be like, back to the money machine.
Right.
That money, printing that money.
Yeah. Funny People is on TV. It was on TV just a little while ago. I would watch that. That looked pretty good. That came out 10 years ago.
It has the same issues that most Judd Apatow films have, which is it's way too long. But it's a considerably better comedy than most of the things that he makes and has made in a long time. But yeah, unless you love Adam Sandler and you just love Halloween stuff, I don't see why you go out of your way to watch Hubie Halloween. Because it's October. There's so many things coming out that's related to that. So like Amazon has a new partnership with Blumhouse, and it's Welcome to Blumhouse, and they've released 4 films on Prime in the past 2 weeks, and they're all like mediocre at best Blumhouse films. So like I'm not surprised Blumhouse dropped those ones on streaming, but like they have Evil Eye, the Black Box, The Lie, and Nocturne. And like Nocturne's probably the best one out of all of them, but like honestly, it isn't that scary, and those are the worst parts of the movie. But like Hulu has their thing. They have a new show on there called Monsterland, which each episode is a strange, creepy, kind of supernatural, paranormal kind of twist. Like there's one with like a really creepy mermaid story in it. Like I just watched one with a witch in it and stuff like that. So like everybody and it's their Huluween. They're pumping them all out now. And like, of course, Netflix always has horror films on there. And they're leaning right into Bly Manor right now, The Haunting of Bly Manor. And which I love Mike Flanagan. And I'm a couple episodes in, and I'm really enjoying it. I know people don't think it's as scary as Haunting at Hill House, which if you've never watched Haunting at Hill House, great show. It's on Netflix. But I guess, have there been things either...
I just wanted to say a couple random runner-ups for, I guess, some awesome childhood movies for me. Godzilla from the 90s, even though everybody hates that movie. I think it's awesome. I remember my mom, there's a couple of 90s kids things that are happening in this memory. One, I was like looking at the newspapers saying like what movies were coming out. That doesn't happen anymore. Two, my mom was like, okay, so like, is this gonna be scary? And I was like, maybe. And she was like, well, I don't know, maybe we should just wait for it to come out on VHS. It doesn't happen anymore. It's not a thing anymore. And I was like, no, we have to watch it because we just have to watch it because it's gonna be good. I loved it. I saw it 3 times in theaters. I got the VHS, like watched it to hell until like all the tapes started coming out. I screwed up mom's VCR. Sorry, mom. And then bought another one and kept watching. I still have it. So that's an awesome movie. I wouldn't know if I recommend it to anybody because whatever, but awesome movie. X-Men, the first one.
Oh.
That was my first ever PG-13 movie. It was fantastic. I asked my dad to watch it, and we were watching the commercial, and you know how it goes like I don't know, like in the movie he's like that, like Wolverine has like the 3 claws, and then like there's like he says like some line, and then like he like flips somebody the bird because like the other 2 claws come down. I was like, I don't know if that's like inappropriate for you, and I'm like, all right, really, but it's before you can watch stuff, interestingly online. But fantastic movie.
Matt's skirting around that because he knows I have feelings about pirating movies.
Maybe we should make that a topic in a couple of weeks. But an X2, fantastic movie. Maybe some say even better than X-Men. But I don't know. That's an interesting argument. And then of course, because I need to bring this up every time I interact with Shane in any way. The Matrix, my first rated R movie, which I remember my mom didn't know was rated R, and we were at Blockbuster again, 90s. And then, what happened? So I remember, we went and got it, and then, or maybe 2000. Yeah, I think I saw it the year after, something like that. And then, but I remember getting the tape in the jacket, and then covering up where it said rated R, and walking up to the cash register, handing it to him, not letting my mom get it back. Then I took it back, put it in my hand, and again held made sure that I was covering up the rating. Watched it. Fantastic movie. I loved it. I rewound it, watched the whole thing again. That was great. That was great. And then also I thought for sure. There's one character in that movie I thought for sure, Pink was one of the characters in that movie. Google the people on the spaceship, and you'll see a lady with white hair, and you'll think for sure that it's Pink. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. What movie is it?
You remember Pink, the singer?
Yeah.
Well,
it wasn't her, but I thought for sure it was, and I told everybody that it was her, and I was wrong.
Matt's saying that he thought that one of the characters in the Matrix was Pink, portraying her like the singer.
That's funny.
That sounds strange, but just Google it and you'll see what I mean.
I get what you mean, Matt, but obviously this was 9-10-year-old Matt, so
yeah. I was like, wait, get the party started, lady? That's her? I don't know, but
the funny thing was, you bring up VHSs and the effort you had to do to actually rewatch something. You had to rewind it.
Dude, I used to rewatch The Simpsons. I would make sure that my VCR would record The Simpsons so I could watch it later. So I could almost fast forward through the commercials. Do you guys remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Until the tape, screwed up, and then you got in trouble.
Well, we had
recorded over somebody else's crap.
We had a bunch of childhood videos, and my brother taped over them with the Brady Bunch and Pokemon, the animated series. My mom was not happy. And there were some great memories. We had a video, my grandpa sitting on a chair, and it breaking under him while he was filming my brother and I doing stuff with some toys. And he's just like, oh my God, holy shit. And it's on, the camera's on us, but you can hear my grandpa saying that. And the look on our faces was priceless. And then my brother taped over it.
Oh,
that's Brady Bunch.
Did she ever find out who taped over it?
Oh, my mom 100% knew who taped over it.
Oh.
So it's those are fun things too growing up. Because I remember when I got my first DVD, we used to do the mail it, because I used to do clubs through the mail. So movie DVD clubs, book clubs, where you had to look through a catalog and it was a piece of paper and you had to write in the numbers, the number code for the item you wanted to pick. and stuff like that, send in the mail, and then it'd come back. And we did this movie club, and you got like 5 DVDs for 1 cent a piece for your first order, but you had to require to buy like 3 full price ones. And the DVDs then were like $22 to like $28. And the first movie of the month was Signs, and scared the living hell out of me as 11-year-old Shane watching Signs for the first time.
In the year 2000. In the year 2000. Little
now 20-year-old Shane watches Suspiria, and
it still scares the crap out of me. Well, you're going to see in my interview with my brother, I do a wild card at the end, so you get to ask me a question. And my brother asked me what movie terrifies me the most. And I'm like, The Babadook. Watch that in my living room, blinds open, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, fully sunny day, rolled up in a ball on the couch. And then my roommate Pat laughed at me when he went out of his room to go get chicken nuggets. And just like, but it's interesting because like seeing how we grow too. Like I would never watch horror movies, but now I watch all kinds of crazy ones, even all the A24 ones that are messed up. But we're going to be talking about horror films, so I won't talk too much because our next show is going to be each of us talking about our favorite horror films.
I don't know if I'm going to
should have synchronized that. We should have all like did something weird with our fingers towards the camera, but it's weird if I only do it alone. Okay, there we go.
I might just have to be a spectator on that one. Scary movies, man. I was going to say, you made me think when I first saw Paranormal Activity, all my college roommates had to do was put the Blu-ray cover on my bed, and because my lights were off, they put it on my bed, and I would turn the lights on, went to go over to my bed, and I saw it, and I freaked out, and I flipped out because there it was staring at me in the face. I had just watched it the night before. Yeah, it scared the crap out of me. So no, I might have to be a spectator, but then again, it makes me a perfect person to talk about. Now, but there you go. I think you know my. Oh, I can't talk about the movie that scared the shit out of me. I can't even talk about it. I think Shane knows what it is. Don't even say the title. Like, we were flipping through the TV, and we saw it like for like 5 seconds and say, change the channel, change the channel. Like, I can't.
Was it the Beauty and the Beast remake? Because that terrified me too. That CGI is awful. I don't know why the first thing that came to mind, but monsters, and I was like,
so Emma Watson's auto tuning.
She's off key. Very.
Oh man. But we'll chat about that. But it's because like obviously it's October, and like last weekend my girlfriend and I watched like Hocus Pocus because it's that time of the year. I'm gonna be watching Nightmare Before Christmas because I watch it every Halloween, all like 1 hour and 17 minutes of it, and because it's Halloween. And like it's funny talking about like Disney Channel original movies that I used to watch as a kid, watching Halloween Town and the Phantom of the Megaplex every Halloween. Now they're on Disney Plus. I might just watch them. So
oh, she gets trapped, right? She gets trapped in the Halloween Town, and she has to like do something before, right? Okay,
yeah, because her grandmom's, you find out her grandmom's a witch and lives in Halloween Town, and like this girl, like all the residents of Halloween Town are being possessed and like sitting like vegetables in a movie theater, like a darked out movie theater. Brings back those memories. But I guess I don't know if there's anything either of you wanted to bring up that you've seen recently that you just really want to talk about or not.
Not a whole lot, but I did so on I think it's Showtime. They've been playing a movie called The Current with oh god, I forget the names. I forget the names, but it's about Thomas Edison and Nikola.
Oh, The Current War.
The Current War. The Current War. Forgive me. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I've seen bits and pieces, and the music is really good.
It
And
is.
the movie, it looks like a good movie.
Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon, right?
Michael Shannon's George Westinghouse.
Yeah.
And Benedict Cumberbatch is Thomas Edison. And then is it Nicholas Holt is Nikola Tesla. And Tom Holland's in it too. And like I enjoyed it. Like it wasn't a great film. It had a lot going for it though. And like obviously anything Michael Shannon's in, he's gonna be intense and just Michael Shannon. Except it's Michael Shannon with a mustache. But it was very interesting because there was a Tesla film that came out this year starring Ethan Hawke as Nikola Tesla. And it had a lot of the same character, like people in it, because, you know, it's telling some of the same story. And they played George Westinghouse off his comic relief and had Jim Gaffigan play him. And I'm just like, this is not the George Westinghouse from the current war with Michael Shannon being like, and just like intense all the time. And then like Kyle MacLachlan played Thomas Edison, which it was very interesting because they had very different presentations. And this was a weird, interesting movie because like there's like Ethan Hawke sings like a really 80s song at the end of the movie, like in the movie. It just like cuts to Nikola Tesla singing the song, and I'm just like, I forget what the title is. It's like, is it? I think it might be If I Want to Rule the World. Like that song, he sings that at the end. I'm just like, what is this movie? But yeah, so the Currents War was something that got pushed back multiple times. It like was filmed a few years ago at this point and kept getting pushed back. They released a director's cut, and now it's finally like actually out. It was because it was a Weinstein picture.
That's why. Oh God.
Yeah. They had advertised it, everything, and then that happened, and they're like,
it's amazing stuff had his name on it. I forget, I was watching something else the other day, and it was like, oh, there he is again.
Well, that's the thing. Anytime you watch a Miramax film or a Weinstein Company film, it's like watching any Tarantino.
I know.
And it's just like ruined it, soiled it.
Yeah,
well, like, that's an interesting. It's an interesting film, and has some interesting performances in it. How about you, Matt? Anything lately?
So recently, it should still be on Netflix. I saw a movie called I think like What Keeps You Alive. I think I'm saying the name right. It's fantastic. It's like I don't know if you are okay with scary movies, but it's not like supernatural, or it's not I don't know. It's just all really, really human. It's just like people just doing what they do best, is being like super awful to each other. But it's disturbing and scary because it's not like a very long movie. So like the setup happens like pretty quickly, and there's just one thing that happens towards the beginning of the movie where it's like, oh, okay, so we're not really easing into this. Okay, so this is happening. And when you watch it, it's just like everybody just really knows how to act, and all the dialogue is so interesting, and everyone talks like regular people. I'm not saying that like when Sorkin like writes dialogue and it's really interesting to listen to, but you definitely know like nobody's sitting in an Applebee's talking like that, but like, or any place, but it's just really realistic, and it's violent. It's super violent, but it has probably one of the best movie endings that I've seen in a long time, like a super long. Like I think I called Shane like I think this week or something like that. Like I haven't clapped at the end of a movie as hard as I did when watching this movie since like maybe like one of these like MCU films. Like I went like yes, and then something else.
every
Yeah,
time
like
I
and then
watch The
something cool
Departed.
happens, it's something and then better. It's like, yes, and then you look around and it's like I'm the only one cheering. Okay, maybe I should be quiet. But I'm on my couch. But like, fantastic movie. I think everyone should watch it. If you can take blood, if you can take a lot of cursing, and if you are interested in kind of like those horror movies that are kind of like in like remote foresty type areas, I felt like I was watching like the beginning of Get Out almost, because it was like, okay, so tell me again, why do people like hang out in the forest? Like, why do people camp? Why do people do that? I don't know. I really don't understand why anyone does it. I don't know why anyone would do it. But yeah, fantastic movie. Fantastic movie. Like, if I had 3 thumbs, it would get one. I'll do this, but count that as a thumb.
Will do, Matt. Like I did add it to my watch list on Netflix, so it's on there. Matt and I realized when we were talking on the phone the other night about horror movies, it's from the same filmmakers who just made The Lodge that came out back before the theaters actually shut down this year. Creepy as hell. So based off of that, I'm like, I kind of know what to expect from this movie. So
you like that, right?
Has like a,
You liked it, right? The Lodge?
It's disturbing. Oh man, very disturbing. And also it's one of those movies where it's like they have really kids that you just want to hate. Horrible kids. Like you're just like, you little scummy assholes. Like that's how I felt at the end of the movie. But do they get their just desserts? Very interesting. You'll have to find out if you go watch The Lodge. It's on Hulu right now. But like, to be perfectly honest, like obviously I watch a lot of movies, and I mentioned like I just watched Love and Monsters and The Trial of the Chicago 7. Trying to think of one. Like there's one that I really, really enjoyed. There's been a few that I've really, really enjoyed lately. And it's just my big suggestion is just try to keep up the best you can with the virtual cinema, because there's always so many things coming out. Like something I just watched, it's coming out this week. Coming week is they have a new Bruce Springsteen film coming out on Apple TV Plus. Bruce. All us Jersey boys know who Bruce Springsteen is. And I've honestly been just really excited about watching some of my favorite shows back, like Bob's Burgers, and Archer's finally back out of his coma for 3 seasons of doing like each season's like him in a dream world where it's like spoofing like a famous movie or something. He was in space, he was in like Danger Island and stuff like that, and it's finally back to normal. And I'm really enjoying it. This 4th season of Fargo is out right now that I've been watching a lot of. But I know it, and it's kind of hard to get really excited about movies right now because like there's so many movies I really want to see, but they just keep getting pushed back into oblivion at this point because, theaters aren't open and they're not going to, well, they're open, but they're not getting as many people and they're not going to put big movies out right now because they're going to wind up like Tenet and be $500 million short of breaking a profit.
Wow.
So
that was a bad experiment. That was a bad experiment, and I feel bad for that movie. I mean, it was either Tenet or Wonder Woman. I think that had to be the first one to like play chicken. So Tenet, I guess, won, but then ultimately it was like, yeah, no.
If I were Warner Brothers, I'd be pissed off at Christopher Nolan at this point because he was the one who kept pushing to release it. It should have came out in 2021, but it is what it is. That's where we're at. Because now, Coming to America, the sequel, that's coming out in December, just got bought by Amazon. And like it's like Eddie Murphy's back in movies again, and I'm excited about that fact. After Dolomite was so much fun with Netflix, and now it's like it's bought by Amazon, so it's just going to be streaming. Disney Plus got Soul, Pixar's new movies coming out on Disney Plus now. So things are either going to get pushed to streaming or they're just going to keep getting pushed back. So like Dune's not coming out now until this next October. So
Oh, Dune. Oh boy, the fate of Dune.
but I guess if I were to recommend anything, probably the biggest thing I would recommend right now is watching the trial of the Chicago 7. That's probably the biggest. It has that feeling of you watching a theatrical movie, but obviously it's on Netflix. It has big stars in it. It's an Aaron Sorkin movie. So like I just miss that feeling because not that I don't enjoy watching tons and tons of indie films. That's been really cool this year. But like sometimes you just miss watching like big name movie stars doing their thing and big filmmakers doing their thing. And you're not really getting that. Except we do get Fincher's Mank coming out on Netflix with Gary Oldman in it coming out, I think in either November or December, that I'm excited about. But honestly, just keeping up with streaming, that's the biggest thing that you have right now to be watching a whole lot of things.
I just got my Netflix subscriptions. I'm glad that both those movies are all three of those movies are going to be on Netflix. That's pretty cool. I'm happy about that.
Netflix has been ruling the roost, and then Amazon had The Boys, so everybody was watching that for like 6 weeks. So great show. But there we have it, another episode of Development Hell Podcast, and appreciate you all tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer. And Alex and Matt.